Hey everyone, SlipjointSawyer here. Today I'm going to be doing a comparison video between two buck knives, both very similar. One is the 112 and the other one is the 110. You all should have seen these and be very familiar with basically what I would like to call the original folding knife as the 110. But we'll jump right into it, and then after that I'll give you a bit of a couple of examples of how we can use these in the UK and a UK perspective on the buck knives. So we'll start up with the original, which is the 110. So you can see it has this like excellent wood here. I believe it's diamond wood they use on here, but I do know they've gone back to ebony. The brass, full brass construction, so it's like integral. So this is all one bit. Lock back design, scales are riveted on here and here, and then this silver pin is holding the whole thing together. So that one is slightly proud, a bit similar to the old timer knives, where they would use that to pinch that together as well as holding the scales on. Apart from that, you can just make out the brass pins here and on the back, and then there's one main one there. Not a pristine knife, but I do use both of these quite a lot actually, even though I am in the UK. See the classic excellent buck build quality, that nice steel back spring there, and the lock back design. Everything meets up perfectly, and then you do have a nail nick to open, but it's such a big gap here. You can just pinch it, and you hear the snap there. It's the sort of the classic buck noise that you would hear if you were to get a buck. If it doesn't make that noise, it's not a buck. Exceptional action on this. It is broken in, but I've had it for quite a while now. Just the affirmative snap. There's no lock rock, no wobble, nothing at all. And this is like a full size knife. It's a large one. I mean, I've got about medium to large hands, and it dwarfs my hands. There you can see is the Buck 110 made in the USA, as all the 110s or the 100 series are, I believe. And then you got the date tang stamp there. I think this is a 2020 or a 21, not 100%. And you can see there I did add in my own sharpening choil. That may annoy some of the buck purists, but I felt like it needed a sharpening choil, so I just put a little tiny one in there. It does make it easier when you're sharpening, and you don't end up with that sort of smile at the end, which joins up here to the blade. Put my own edge on this as well after a couple of months of use. But it has the 420 HC, that Paul Boss heat treatment, and it's fantastic for 420 HC, and it lasts phenomenally well, and it takes the most razor edge you could possibly want on a knife. So let's take a look at the sizing. So the 110, we're looking at a size of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches closed, so it's a huge knife. And then with a blade of 1, 2, 3, 3 3/4, and then a cutting edge of 1, 2, 3, 3 1/4. So even if we could have a 3-inch locking knife in the UK, which we can't, it wouldn't be legal. But as I said, I use this to go camping. If I'm out working in the garden, or if I'm doing some woodworking, anything like that, I will carry this with me. It'll be in my back pocket. Depending on the task, obviously, if I don't need such a big knife, I will take the 112, which we'll take a look at in a second. But I love the way the brass patinas. You can see, like, you know, when you're holding it, the sweat sort of patinas it, and anything you're using it on. You can see it's taken a bit of a bash in where I've dropped it, but this is a worker for me. The Buck 110 and the 112, they are worker knives, and this is what I think they should be using for. I mean, they are the folding hunter. I don't think unless you've got one of the really like limited editions or custom bucks, I think they should all be worker knives. So there we go, that is the 110. We'll come back to that in a moment. And we'll take a look at the 112. And one thing you'll probably notice right off the bat is the quick thumb stud I put on there. And that's mainly because I use this one quite a bit more now than I do the 110. If I'm holding something, I might need that one-handed open. I do know you can sort of grab the blade and like flick it down, but just in case, you know, that falls out of your hand and you drop it on your foot or something, I went for the thumb stud. It does make it a bit easier. And you can see this one definitely does have the diamond wood. It's like that laminated wood. Again, integral brass sort of frame with the wood pinned on top, and that same steel, you know, the mushroomed over steel pin there to hold everything together. As well as that, you might be able to just make out the pins there on the back. Basically exactly the same construction as the 110. Everything's exactly the same. It's just a smaller version. So you can see, again, have that nice affirmative lockup. Obviously not quite as defined as the 110 because that's quite a chunkier knife, but you still have that positive lockup. And you can see how the back lock works in there with that bar, presses against there. And obviously when you press the button, it detaches this piece out of that little groove. Again, you can see the Buck 112 USA tang stamp there, and I believe this one is a 2018. I'm sure I'll get corrected if I'm wrong, but I think it's a 2018. Exactly the same blade shape, just on a smaller proportion, with, again, the 420 HC Paul Boss heat treatment. Absolutely fantastic heat treatment. I don't think you will find another company or another gentleman that does such a great heat treatment. I do think this is the best out there. I know he started doing S30V, S35VN, I believe, with his heat treatment on, and honestly, that must last phenomenally well. So this I think would be the perfect. If I could carry a locking knife every day in the UK, I do think the Buck 112 would be for me. It fits my hand nicely, tiny bit sticking over, but you know, it gives you that grip. This little quick stud provides like thumb support on the side, so you can really lock up on that grip, and it's not going to go anywhere. No play, nothing at all. Again, I did add my own sharpening choil on there, just a little tiny one to make it a bit easier when I'm sharpening if I'm out and about. And you can see that nice clean nail nick. You can see these do get used. There is some sort of dirt on there. I can't remember what I use it for last. But I do use both of these for food prep. Obviously, I clean them before doing different tasks, but I use them for pretty much everything really around the house, things like that. There's just something about the Buck 110 and 112 that I think it's the nostalgia or like the history of them. I think every collector must have these two, at least one of them anyway. So we'll take a look at the size of the 112. So we have a full handle length of 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. So you can see it's 3/4 of an inch less than the 110. And then the blade we have of a 1, 2, just over 3. So maybe pull it back, yeah, just over 3 inches. And then a cutting edge, if I add back in the choil I took out, 1, 2, 2 3/4. So if we could carry a locking knife, I would say this would be legal in the UK, but obviously we can't. I do know that other places in the EU can carry a locking knife as long as it's 2-hand opening. So I believe Germany you could carry a Buck 110, obviously with that minus the thumb stud, 112, sorry. So we'll take a look at these now side by side. So we'll pop the 112 at the bottom there. If I just line it up with some of the numbers, and then the 110 there, so you can see the size difference. It doesn't sound a lot when you're looking at the numbers on paper, but when you put them side by side, you can see there is the handle's not so much, but the blade is definitely a big difference. It's about an inch difference in the blade. If I sort of line them up, maybe just under an inch. If I put that, let's do this properly, shall we? Put that there. So yeah, 3/4 of an inch in the blade. And well, yeah, it's about 1.5 inches less altogether if you've got 3/4 and 3/4. But honestly, both of these knives are a solid choice. Now, when I was saying about what I would use them for in the UK, I have carried the 110 a lot. You can see sort of how battered this sheath got when I was camping and things like that. It just sort of gets thrown in there and then that just gets chucked about the camp. But as it's such a rugged knife, I've got no qualms doing that at all. And that sort of just fits in there, nice snap sheath. And obviously it does have the belt loop, but I don't think I've ever, maybe used it a couple of times, but normally it just goes in the side of my pack, just in the side like that, and then you know, you can just snap it and then it's out whenever you need it. These do come with the buck knife as well, which is fantastic. Always nice to get a sheath when you're buying a new knife. And then the 112 one, you can see I haven't really carried that at all in the sheath, but that fits in there. Even with this little addition on here, it does fit in there perfectly well. Nice and snug in there. Got the 112 at the bottom there, just so you can, I think the 110 has 110 in it as well. Yeah, you can just about make that out. But a fantastic choice, even if you like you know, you're like a huntsman or you like outdoors stuff in the UK. I do feel either of these would be a fantastic choice, especially you'd be off the beaten path. You're not going to be sort of spied by anyone that's going to get offended by the knives. So I would definitely recommend either of these knives. So there we go, guys. That's my overview of the Buck 110 versus the 112. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I do know it's a locking video, not a slip joint, what I normally do, but I wanted to give my overview on these knives because I love them so much. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.